Hi there, and welcome back. So, today I have a very special guest. Her name is Bea Albina, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit about her. She's known also as Beatriz Bea Victoria Albina. She is an NP, MPH, SEP, and she is a UCSF trained family nurse practitioner, somatic experience practitioner, and master certified somatic life coach. She is the host of the Feminist Wellness Podcast, holds a master's degree in public health from Boston University, and a BA in Latin American Studies from Oberlin College. She was born in Argentina, but grew up in the state of Rhode Island. And with that, I would like to welcome Bea.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
I am so excited to have you here. How you're here is that we have this mutual friend, Maggie Reyes, who we both adore and who has been on
Mhm,
my podcast and I think probably on yours too. Yes?
mhm. I think so. At this
Yep.
point, I have no idea.
Okay. Well, you're like
I
hundreds of
think
episodes
probably.
in.
Yeah.
But what I love is this introduction has brought me to your podcast, which is so good and so informative and so intelligent, soulful. Your voice is so easy to listen to. And I just can't wait to get into all the things I don't know much about, which I'm really curious about asking, and also things that we both coach on, which there's a lot of overlap, although we sort of come from very different backgrounds, you being a nurse practitioner, me being a former television executive, but we sort of converge in this, as you would say, beautiful Venn diagram of overthinkers, people pleasers, and perfectionists.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited. But I want to start with kind of the low hanging fruit and the thing that I don't know a lot about. I'm very familiar with the word, but like I have a million questions about what does it really mean? How did you get your background in it? How can we apply it? And that is somatics.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here and I am receiving your kind words. And also want to say, hi, Maggie. I love when good people bring good people together, right?
Me
It's a really
too.
beautiful thing. Yeah. So, somatics is really my passion. It's really what all these years of training has brought me to. So, soma means body in Greek. It's quite simple. And somatics is the study and practice of embodied awareness, the direct experience of your body from the inside out, rather than focusing on how it looks or functions externally. So it's really about sensing, feeling, and responding to your internal landscape in real time rather than
Mhm.
overriding or ignoring your body's signals, which, like, let's be real, right? Most of us have been conditioned to do exactly that, right? And
Right.
so at its core, somatics is about relationship. Your relationship with your body, your nervous
Mm.
system, your history, all the ways that all of that shapes how you move, how you emote, and what your emotions are, and how you respond to and react to the world.
So interesting. So it's really mindfulness of the body.
In a way, yeah. Yeah.
It's listening to your body when it's reacting to external events.
And experiencing
Okay.
external events. So we hold space for neutrality as well. And so what that allows us to do is to step into a new kind of choicefulness,
Mhm.
because when we recognize that patterns in the body are held because of the past, we realize that we do
Mhm.
what we do based on old patterning in the nervous system, old scripts, old stories, old narratives.
Mhm.
And when we
Mhm.
realize what all those stories are and how we have been holding them,
Yeah.
we can make decisions. We can have choicefulness. And so this can be as esoteric as you want it to be, but also, let's hypothetically say someone has a new puppy and it hypothetically goes to the bathroom all over the house.
Wait, I'm gonna stop her right, Bea, right now. I just told her the story offline about the last hour that I have spent cleaning up my puppy's accidents in the house, which he hasn't made very many, but I
Yeah.
made the mistake of leaving my office door open, and I was left with multiple surprises, and I was telling her how I was a little unnerved
Ma-
by this.
unnerved. Yeah. And so if you grew up in a household where knocking over your milk at dinner was met with
Mm.
screaming, a mistake might lead your body to retract,
Mm.
to brace like a boxer in the ring. And
Mm,
so, how do you react to somebody else's mistake, much less your own? Brace,
mm.
crap, I'm in trouble. Ah, right? Then what
Yeah,
do? You get defensive, you get jabby, you push outward, or you self recriminate. God, I'm the worst. I'm an idiot. I'm so dumb. I'm always messing up,
yeah.
right?
I kinda did
Meaning,
all those things this morning, by the way. Every one I just ran through your list this morning
okay,
as I'm
great. Cool, cool,
cleaning
cool.
up.
You got an A plus in somatics so far. But
Thanks.
yeah, you're quite welcome. I will put that on your permanent record. Um, and we get choicefulness. We step back into agency, into choicefulness when we realize what the old pattern of reaction and response is.
Mm,
And we can pause, regulate the nervous system, ground through the body, and say, do I want to do what I've always done here?
mm.
Do I want to scream at puppy? I'm not saying you did this.
No.
Do I want to scream at puppies? Do I want to self recriminate? Do I want to make this a 10 out of 10? Or do I want to make a different choice? Somatics brings us back that agency where we get to choose the next thing. And that's the
Mhm,
magic. That's the point. That is what is so liberatory and generative about somatics. It's that choice that it allows us to step back into in situations where we didn't maybe even realize we had choice because we didn't realize we were running on an old script.
right. So in
Yeah.
that moment, right, I'm racing to get ready for this interview. It's early in the morning. I have not had even a glass of water yet. I need to jump in the shower. My puppy got out of my office and raced around and made a mess. And I am now late, tense. There's super judgy eyes from my husband who's enjoying his latte and his 2 newspapers. He doesn't know that the puppy's pooped, but he sees me cleaning it up. What in that moment could I have done differently? Of course, I cleaned it up. Of course, I got on the call, all the things. But what could I have done differently so that my body didn't feel that rush of tension? Because I felt the muscle tension immediately. And I didn't get mad at the puppy. I got mad at the situation and at myself.
I want to zoom out.
Okay.
Right? Everyone wants, and this is where I think nervous system education, somatic education is moving in problematic ways, secondary to social media, because
Okay.
people who don't have a lot of actual training are saying, when you feel stressed, you should do like XYZ movements and then you'll be fine. And so
Uh-huh.
we come to believe that if you like stand on one foot and pull out your left earlobe 7 times while tapping your nose, then like you'll be this calm Zen master and that's somehow the goal of life, which
Yes.
I don't think it is at all. Somebody pooping on your floor, it's okay for that to incite an emotion,
Yeah.
right?
Particularly when
Like,
you're running late for a business
listen,
meeting.
I don't like it when anybody poops on my floor, full
Right.
stop.
Right.
I veto. So
Right.
like we don't want to like somatic practice our way out of having human emotions. So the thing to do in the puppy moment,
Mm.
you do long before the puppy moment.
Mm.
Right? So it's about reorienting the nervous system towards safety so
Mhm.
that regardless of what comes up, regardless of what happens, you have this buffer in the positive sense, this spaciousness, capacity, resilience within the nervous system to meet life on its very lifey terms
Mhm.
without getting dysregulated when life doesn't call for it.
Mhm.
So, reorienting the nervous system towards safety. It's not about overriding discomfort with affirmations or intellectual reassurances or somehow telling ourselves don't have feelings. I
Mhm.
think that's what's happening.
Mhm.
Instead, it's about creating conditions where the body experiences safety. And if
Mhm.
you're out here and you're like, wait, why are we talking about safety? This is about dog poop. But I think it's applicable here because it's in this minutia of the
Mhm.
dog poop and the running late where it feels like everything important in life comes to this pinhead, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
have to get to the interview because the
Mhm.
interview is my podcast, is getting clients, is my business, is whether I live on the street or not. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like it's this
Yeah.
spiral. And so when we can find a way to be calm and safe and grounded while still having
Mhm.
emotions in the minutia, in the
Mhm.
quotidian BS,
Mhm.
life becomes better and easier overall. So,
Mhm.
orienting the nervous system towards safety is about creating conditions where the body experiences safety in this deep physiologic level. Because if safety is a thought, the nervous system doesn't buy it, right? It needs to
Mhm.
feel it. And
Mhm.
so we need to work with sensation, movement, breath to
Mhm.
give the body enough grounding and enough
Mm.
tools in moments where we are totally not stressed, where we're like
Mhm.
sitting on the
Mhm.
beach or on our couch with our favorite squishy pillow, whatever.
Mhm.
So the nervous system begins to have this automatic, a heuristic, a shortcut, a neural groove patterned go to that says, when stressed, it's okay to feel emotions. It is safe to feel emotions. And I don't need to go to 10 out of 10 over things that require a two.
Mhm. So, let me give you an example of what I think you're saying.
I would love that.
I have had a multitude of sports injuries. Nothing catastrophic,
Okay.
strains, sprains, tweaks,
Mm,
and all it does is keep me from sleeping and doing the sports I love, but nothing catastrophic. So grateful for the body that I
of
have and
course.
all that I get to do. I have had an inordinate amount of x-rays, MRIs, ultrasounds, because when they're doing their diagnostics of is it broken or
Of
is it
course.
just tweaked, you have to do those things. If anybody's ever had an MRI, it's uncomfortable. It's claustrophobic, it's noisy. If you do it wrong, meaning if you move during it, you have to do it over again, and the last thing you wanna do is hear that jackhammer for another 45 minutes when you're, like, in a frozen position. So you wanna kinda get it right, meaning you wanna be still. And the interesting thing is I had to have an MRI when I was very young, and I remember thinking, "I think I'm gonna suffocate. I think I'm gonna die in this chamber
Oh
listening to
my
this jackhammer,"
gosh.
only because I wasn't accustomed to sitting still for that long and being in an enclosed space. The interesting thing is, as I got older, I also now meditate, and I've meditated every day for 8 years. So I can control my breath, and I can control calming my mind down when I know that I need to. So when I go into an MRI chamber, I don't love it. It's not fun. I meditate.
Mm.
I use my skills to meditate. So is that kind of what you're talking about where you're like, I have a well-worn neural pathway to say, this is going to be annoying and irritating and uncomfortable because it's boring and claustrophobic and noisy. So I'm going to meditate during this period and I will stay calm and the time will go quickly because I'm used to this. Is that a form of somatics?
I heard a couple questions. So, is meditation a form of somatic practice? Depends on the type of meditation,
Okay.
right? Two, you asked, is meditation like the somatic reorienting that we're talking about?
Yes.
Not really, in
Okay.
that what happens in the nervous system in a moment of trigger, of stress,
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
distress, is the nervous system loses, and I'm going to generalize, I'm a scientist, but we're speaking colloquially here, my
Yeah.
angels. It's like it loses its sense of time and place, and all of a sudden, your temporal reality is suspended, right? So all of a sudden, your 46, 56-year-old body is 6, and you're when the
Mhm.
scary thing happened. Or
Mhm.
when you couldn't find your whatever and it was terrifying because your binky was your whole world because you were like, we get
Yeah.
sent back into another time and place
Yes.
when something told the nervous system, this is dangerous, mark this. And if
Mhm.
something that smells like this, looks like this, tastes like this, sounds like this happens again, flip out because
Mhm.
this is worthy of fight, flight, freeze, fawn. This is
Mhm.
worthy of dysregulating the nervous system because this is
Mhm.
how you get lunched, right?
Mhm.
You're 6 and you're on the savannah and you hear a lion, you're never going to not hear a lion and book it,
Never.
right?
Right.
Right. So when the nervous system hears its proverbial lion,
Mhm.
meditating is it depends on my wife's a Tibetan Buddhist. We meditate every day to give for that background. Meditation doesn't work for everyone, so I'm loath to go there as our first line.
Okay.
What we want to do is orient the nervous system like you'd orient, like when you start a new job and they're like, "Hi, welcome. Here's the front desk, here's the bathroom, here's your desk, here's the kitchen." And they've
Mhm.
oriented you to the space.
Yes.
That's what we wanna do. So there's
Mhm.
6 tools I love to teach to reorient towards safety. 1,
Okay.
establishing sensory anchors. So instead of meditation where we might and in the Shambhala
Okay.
tradition or the Tibetan tradition, Pema Chodron teaches us to let our minds be like the sky and the thoughts float through,
Right.
right? So we're kind of in a way doing that, but the opposite. Paradoxes abound. So the nervous system needs reliable cues that signal safe enough in order to relax out of that hypervigilant state, lions, or the shutdown state, too many lions. And so
Mm,
we do that by orienting it to this time and this place. My
mm,
favorite, simplest, easiest one is to use sight. So we look around and we let the nervous system know I'm here in my office. I can see the sky and clouds. There's no lions around, right? So that lets the nervous system know it's not just okay to be here and now, it's safe. And I'm not
mhm,
actually in that trigger. Like I'm not
mhm,
a little kid anymore, right? Like I'm a
mhm,
grown woman, pays my own rent,
mhm,
right? So that's what we can do in a moment of anxiety, but we can also set these sensory anchors up for ourselves beforehand. So we can use touch. So feeling the texture of your
mhm,
shirt, feeling the texture of your own skin. I like to spin my rings, feeling your
mhm,
feet on the ground, holding a warm cup of tea,
mhm,
feeling the pressure of your chair or the couch against your back. All
mhm,
tell the nervous system I'm here and now. We can use sound.
mhm,
So using a steady rhythmic voice. So it can be your own or it can be mine or yours, right? Folks who listen
mhm,
to our podcasts, you can listen to a show that's supportive, familiar music. There's actually a
mhm.
study about the music of our teenage years. It had this particular calming effect. And when I was writing my book, I'm going to both date myself, which is totally fine, and get a little embarrassed. But here we go. I'm halfway into it. So why not? Pearl Jam's Even Flow and the
Oh,
album
yeah,
10.
yeah.
Oh my god, I listened to that probably about 400 million times because it was the album. I think it's because it activated, like, when I learned how to be a good writer, like, in high school, right?
Mm,
And so, like,
mm.
I would just put it on and just write like a monkey at a, typewriter, just like
Yeah,
wild. But so
yeah,
those sorts of things tell our brain and our nervous system safe enough.
yeah.
When we are activated in the nervous system, what we need generally more than silent,
Mm,
steady meditation is to complete the stress activation cycle, right? So again, lion, nervous system got activated, and then we're up
mhm,
here because it wasn't a lion. Your mom texted. It wasn't a lion. You're in a boardroom. It wasn't a lion. You're at the PTA and they're asking you to like do all the baking for another bake sale. But oh my God, you just got this big job. And oh my God, you want to die, right?
yeah, yeah.
So a system that's up in fight or flight, hyper arousal, or
Mhm,
oh my God, another bake sale. And so you're in that hypo arousal, that freeze, that collapse, that check out. It doesn't need reassurance, silence, or stillness generally. It needs movement to process that stress activation. So that can mean, let me give you a couple examples. So if you're wired and restless, then rhythmic movement, bilateral
mm,
stimulation, walking, swinging your arms,
mm,
shaking, swaying, these things can help discharge excess activation energy. If you are feeling collapsed or foggy, if you're having a case of the like, wait, what? Sorry, what? That's that nervous system going into what's called dorsal, that checked out, that there have been so
mhm,
many lions, I just friggin' can't. That's when we bring in tiny movements. So wiggling your fingers and toes, but like
mhm,
slowly, softly, slow stretching,
mm,
gentle rocking. So, not like a big sway, but a gentle rock can start to bring that life force activation energy back online. And
mm.
then finally, if you're anxious but frozen, that sort of stuttering kind of energy of
Yeah,
like, wait, what? Then a low stakes vocalization, because usually we can't get actual words out.
right.
So instead, sighing, humming, or a deep mm can start to cue the vagus nerve towards safety without jarring it. So
Mm,
when we're in activation, the body wants to complete the cycle, right? When a gazelle is chased by a lion and the lioness catches her by the ankle, she falls to the ground and plays dead. Then she like, I picture her opening one eye and being like,
is
lioness
it
is
gone?
gone. Right. And then she stands up, shakes her whole body, and off she runs.
Interesting.
And we need to do the same thing. Dogs do it all the time. They shake their whole body. I love when the
Yeah,
little tag goes click, 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 click. But we don't do that because polite society, right? You're
right,
not supposed to scream and throw something in a boardroom,
right,
right?
right,
But we want to. We need
right.
we need to not scream and throw things. Come on now. But We need to complete this because that stuck energy just needs permission to move.
That's so interesting.
Isn't it amazing? Bodies is amazing.
Yeah, and the animal kingdom does all those things
Right.
innately.
Yes.
'Cause, like,
Yeah,
you're
and we would
describing
too.
it, and I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what animals do."
Yeah,
Right.
we would too, but we like quote unquote civilizationed ourselves out of these primal reflexes.
Well, we prefrontal cortexed ourselves out of it because the
Yeah,
rational thinking brain is like, "Well, that's not appropriate to sway in this meeting, and that's not
sure.
appropriate to hum to get myself back," and, like,
Totally.
you talk yourself out of it or somebody else has talked you out of that being appropriate.
Well, think about how many little kids, like how many women twirl their hair as little
Oh,
girls
yeah.
and get their hands slapped. What are you doing when you're
Yeah.
twirling your hair? First of all,
Self-regulating.
you're self-regulating. Kids are
Yeah.
hit and stop it. Stop it, we're in
Yeah.
church. Stop it, we're at wherever. Stop it.
Yeah. And they're
Stop
self-regulating.
fidgeting. They're just
Mhm.
regulating. More
Yeah.
fidget. More fidget.
Really, really interesting. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
First of all, the course correction of what I thought was somatic regulation or using somatics to reset something that otherwise would create more nervousness. But the distinction and differentiation of depending on the circumstance, which modality, if you will, of somatics you use, super interesting, and I almost like I think my editor will do this. I'd love her to summarize that in a list so that that's in the notes section of this podcast.
Fantastic.
It's really great. Let's segue for just 1 second, and then I wanna get back to a really important question. What is the name of your book?
Oh, thanks for asking. So it's called End Emotional Outsourcing, a guide to overcoming codependent, perfectionist, and people pleasing habits. And I'm more than happy to break down where that all came from.
Love that. Feel free to do that, and is that book already out or coming out?
It comes out on September 30th, 2025. I'm so excited. It's been, as a book is, many years in the
Yeah,
making.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love it so much. Yeah, I can't believe it's finally real. So the title comes from my own journey, as these things often do. I totally had what anybody with a set of eyes would call codependent, perfectionist, and people pleasing habits. I was living large on that one. But I didn't get help because I didn't identify with the words.
Mhm.
Codependent was like, not me, no, me, codependent? No, I don't need nobody. I'm a smart, independent,
Mm.
super overly educated woman. I don't. No, thank you. I am a rock. I am an island. No, I do not co anybody. Ahem. Perfectionist, absolutely. Get out of here with that. I mess up all the time. Pretty much all I
Mhm.
do is mess up. Ahem. People pleaser? Are you kidding me? Everyone's mad at me. I please no one because of the aforementioned complete mess up, right? Ahem.
Mhm.
So here I am living out all these habits, but none of them resonated. And when it finally like clicked, when I finally got it, I realized that there must be hundreds and thousands and millions of people, but particularly human socialized as women just like me who are like, nah, that's not me. But they keep dating the schmucks who treat them like crap. They keep giving their worth away to everyone and everything. And we
Mhm.
need a term that resonates. And I needed to rescue the term codependent from the 70s and 80s when it got
Mhm.
really coded with so much shame and blame and guilt and talking about how our personalities are defective and we're suffering and there's something wrong with us. Because
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with us. I think these are brilliant survival skills that we learned in childhood
Mhm.
and within the societies and cultures we grew up in.
Mhm.
And I want us to reclaim those habits as brilliant so we can
Mhm.
honor our inner children and we can friggin' cut it out. I mean, that's the
Mhm.
end of the day. Is like, let's do
Mhm.
differently, but we need to honor what's been in order to do that. Because if we keep shaming what's been, where are we? Right?
Right.
We're in the same
Right.
morass.
Right.
So emotional outsourcing is for me the kernel of what we do. We
Mm.
chronically and habitually source our sense of safety,
Mhm.
worth, and belonging, the three
Oh,
essential
yeah.
human needs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
everyone and everything outside of ourselves instead of from within to our own detriment.
100%. 100%. I too wrote a book last October, The Overthinker's Guide to Joy, the name of this
Oh,
podcast. Not
so good.
duplicative, but a lot of the same themes. The subtitle being A Handbook for Overachievers, People Pleasers, and Perfectionists. That's really where the Venn diagram intersects,
So
is
great.
our work in specifically people pleasing and perfectionism. Now,
Yeah.
you go way deeper and have the background with your education into the science behind codependency. That's something I talk about very superficially because I'm not an expert in it. I talk much more about the people pleasing and where that comes from. But let's talk about the intersection of those two terms, codependence and people pleasing.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really at its most core about thinking I am not safe as my authentic self.
Uh-huh.
I don't belong in my family, in my community, in my culture, in my society. My belonging, which is a vital, existentially vital thing for tiny human mammals. And if you're listening and you're like, I'm 6'4", I don't care. You are not the size of a rhino. You are tiny, right?
Uh-huh.
We are very small. We
Uh-huh.
need each other. We are pack animals by design. We're not the size of lemmings, but we need one another, right?
Mhm.
And so if we don't have that sense of belonging, if we learned in childhood, I am only safe and have belonging if I'm pleasing others,
Yeah.
then our existence is dependent on those others, on what they think of us, how they feel about us, how they
Yeah.
treat us,
Yeah.
their story about our lives. So then I
Yeah.
bring in, safety, belonging, and worth. So how do we feel worthy? Well, we meet
Mhm.
other people's external standards, right? We
Mhm.
keep them pleased with us, or we don't have worth. We're not worthy of love,
Mhm.
of care. I mean, if we're not a good girl, right, and we don't
Yeah.
help mom in the kitchen, and we don't brush our teeth and get straight A's and do all the things instead of
Mhm.
being praised and cared for and loved for who we are,
Mhm.
then that creates those tension patterns in the body,
Mhm.
those somatic bodily habits, those patterns of reactivity
Mhm.
that are
Mhm.
also then coded as neural grooves in the mind, as heuristics, as shortcuts, as thoughts and ways of holding the body, feeling, responding, reacting of least resistance, right?
Mm.
And so then
Mhm.
we're living from this autopilot instead of in
Mhm.
intentionality. And I think
Mhm.
intentionality, choicefulness, agency, that's the link, right? So
Yeah.
in people pleasing and codependent thinking, we're not in our agency. We are not living our lives for us. We're living them such that everyone else will give us that atta girl that we
Yes.
came to believe we need in order to survive.
Yeah. Do you have research or have you read research on, and I know it probably changes constantly because the world is always changing. So whatever statistic was true even 2 or 3 years ago might be different today. Do you have a sense of the propensity of people pleasing being more inherently female than male?
So I would actually look really at gender as a construct and not
Mhm.
biology. And so I would
Mm.
really be more curious about our socialization and conditioning.
Mhm.
And I think that all sorts of things are taught to all sorts of mammals.
Mm.
And in the patriarchy, those children who are assigned female at birth and are raised as girls, in my
Yes.
lived experience, and
Mhm.
there's no research that I can point to on this.
Mhm.
I haven't found anything. If I'm wrong, someone please email me. I'd love to read your study. But I think it's part of the training, right? To
That's what
put
I'm
others
asking. I'm
exactly.
sorry. I asked the question wrong. I didn't mean biologically. I meant culturally. Is
Right
it?
on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. It's okay when I hear female and male,
No,
right?
what I
Like
meant was for my female clients, and I see both. I coach men and women.
right, right,
I
right.
see a much, much, much higher trend
Yeah,
towards my female clients being much more concerned about what their mothers, daughters, sisters,
totally.
husbands, friends think
Yeah,
than
yeah,
what the
yeah.
men think.
Agreed, agreed. And so I was responding to the word female and male,
Got it.
which are biological terms. that have the social construct removed from them.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yes, and of course, we're generalizing but not globalizing. I find that humans socialized as women are trained up as girls to put everyone's and everything's needs ahead of their own, right?
Yeah.
To help mom in the kitchen instead of going to watch sports after dinner, right? To
Right.
be the ones cleaning up, to do the emotional labor and to hold the invisible labor of the
Yeah.
household, of the family, of who's the kid's pediatrician? What size shoes do they wear? What's their blood type? What are their allergies? What's for dinner? While
Yeah.
also working a full-time job,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
And there's
so
exceptions to every rule because there's plenty of
obviously.
stay-at-home dads and,
Sure, sure.
but all the things. But predominantly, that has been my experience or my observations
I
in
would
my
agree.
work.
I would
Mhm.
agree very much. It's part and parcel of living under the patriarchy as well as white settler colonialism and late stage capitalism, right? They all converge to create this morass in which, of course, we emotionally outsource because
Mhm.
so much is being demanded of us that doesn't allow us to actually be who we are at our core.
Mhm. And I suppose men, now women, because we're so much a part of the workforce and we've changed our rules so much over 50 years. But I suppose men have a version of it too, which is scorekeeping, right? Winning the game,
Mm,
making the most money, getting the promotion. Like those things are all externally outsourcing validation as well.
great point.
Yeah. So they have
Yeah.
it in a different way. It's not
Yeah.
so much people pleasing as it is, where's my attaboy?
Right. I
A
would call that
concrete attaboy.
right. I talk about that as people proving.
Uh-huh. That's a nice distinction.
Yeah, proving your worth.
I love that. I know we can do a whole episode on it, and I think we should, but I would
Yeah.
love to just scratch at the very surface of this subject because I love it so much, and I've done so many podcasts on it, and I never get enough of it. But the nature of codependence as a pattern that starts very early in childhood for all the reasons you've just listed. You've been very articulate about that. For my listeners who are saying, oh my God, I don't want to admit it, but I know that I'm codependent in some capacity, whether it's with their partner or boss or friend, maybe even a
Yeah.
toxic friend. What are some just very simple thoughts
Yeah.
or habits or course
Yeah.
corrections that someone can do if they suspect they're in a probably unhealthy codependent relationship? And again, I want to articulate. I'm not talking about having an alcoholic partner and, pouring their drink before they walk in the door. I'm not talking about that kind of codependence. I'm talking about oh, I don't have agency to make that decision on my own, or that will upset my partner slash boss slash whatever. What are some of the tiny little things we can tell the audience to say,
Yeah.
"Hey, you have choice here."
Yeah. So some of those more sneaky, insidious examples of codependent thinking would be
Mm.
feeling responsible for other people's emotions, such
Mhm.
that you can't relax. If someone's upset, someone's unhappy, someone's disappointed, and you feel compelled to fix it. So a great example is my ex-mother-in-law. Her son got engaged. She threw him this huge, incredible party. They were running low on the snack everyone was loving. She left the party, drove an hour to buy more, and came back because she was so rattled by thinking he would maybe be upset. There was tons of food. There was leftovers for days. But in her mind, him having a disappointment was the worst possible thing, such that she missed 3 hours of the party and stressed herself out to no end for
Wow.
chicken nuggets. Feeling resentful but not expressing it because you don't think your feelings count as much as someone else's. Well, he's had
Mhm.
such a long day and he works such long hours. And I don't know. I mean, it really hurt me that, but,
Mhm.
which then parlays into avoiding conflict at all costs, even if it means
Yeah.
lying, downplaying your needs, stuffing down your feelings.
Yeah.
Which then leads into apologizing constantly, and we'll
Yeah.
leave Canadians out of this, sorry. But, even
I have a lot of Canadian friends, so I
they're the
love that.
best. We love them. apologizing constantly, even when you didn't do anything wrong to like keep the peace.
Yeah.
Believing that if you don't stop taking care of someone, they'll leave you or stop loving you. And that's the subconscious subtext. And it shows up as giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving until you're thoroughly exhausted, but not letting yourself receive help.
Mhm.
And then the upregulated nervous system version of that is the whole family sitting on the couch. It's Saturday night. And all right, everybody, we're going to go watch the movie. But oh my gosh, I didn't make popcorn. And you
Yeah.
get up. Oh, I just need to let the dog. Oh, I'm just going to fold the laundry. Oh, I'm just going to up and up and up because your nervous system's so revved up and hasn't completed the stress activation from your
Yeah.
childhood and your teen years and your 20s and your 30s and
Yeah.
your 40s.
Yeah.
And you can't sit still.
You just described me every
Hmm.
night,
Yeah,
which
so I have
is
a program you can
hilarious.
join.
No, literally, that is me every night. We sit down and watch TV, and I fold a load of laundry. I empty the dishwasher. I take the dog out 6
Right.
times.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
every night.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nervous system regulation. For reals, with no judgies. I used to be that way for sure. It was a
Yeah.
stressful way to live, eh?
Not compared to my old life. I
Oh,
consider
right
this like
on.
yeah, I consider my current life like a dream, and I'm still, juggling a million things at night, but it's not under the same stress that I once had in my old
Good.
career. Not even
I'm so
close.
glad. I'm
Me
so
too.
glad. Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of career at work, it can be saying yes to extra projects, unpaid labor, emotional caretaking of other
Yeah.
employees, right? Because you don't want to disappoint anyone or you don't want anyone to think badly about you. Feeling guilty when you call out bad behavior, when you take a break, when you set a boundary. Avoiding advocating for yourself. So,
Yeah.
for a raise, for fair treatment, for credit for your work, because it feels selfish or just like scary. Attempting to manage people's reactions to feedback, even when it's like just literally your job, right? You're
Yeah.
trying to pad their emotions, make sure that it doesn't hurt them, right? Instead of
Yeah.
just directly and simply doing your job.
Yeah.
And I just want to be clear, there's no judges here, right? In decision making, so asking everyone's opinion, the
Yeah.
fullest version of the peanut gallery before you make a choice. And at its root, it's because you don't trust yourself, because you're not your authentic self and you're not in your intentionality, because you've lost this connection with your intuition because you're not somatically embodied. You're not present in
Huh.
your body, right? Feeling paralyzed by guilt when you say no, even if it's something you truly do not want to do and you're going to be so resentful later. Not
That's
knowing
a
what you
big one. That's a
I
big
can
one.
yeah, and I can keep going for hours
Yeah.
because this is the work, right? Is these like subtle and sometimes not so subtle, but like deeply insidious, sneaky kinds of codependent perfectionist and people pleasing habits is kind of sneaky emotional
Yeah.
outsourcing because it just becomes the soup you're swimming in. And so you don't even realize it, right?
Yeah.
Like ruminating endlessly about something you did or said, believing your worth is tied to how much you do for others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Giving lavish presents when it's just not what's happening, but you really wanna make sure that they feel really good,
Yeah.
right?
Really interesting. We have to do a part 2 of this because I
Can't wait.
think this subject of codependence, I think it deserves its own episode. So,
Yeah.
Bea, we gotta do this
Let's
again.
do it. I can't wait.
And yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And really dive deeper
Let's do
into
it.
also back to the how. Like, how do we
Yes.
break some of these patterns?
Yes.
I cannot thank you enough for coming today to sharing your wisdom. There is so much that you said. Like, I need to go back and listen to this episode to process it all. And I encourage my listeners to do the same because you are so intelligent. You speak so quickly. And I say that with absolute admiration and like awe. There's so much jam packed in here. So thank you. And I can't wait to have you back. And can you let your audience
Yeah.
know where can they reach you? How can they work with you? How can they listen to you? All the things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my website is a great hub for all things my work. My website is my first name, last name.com, Beatriz, Beatriz, Albina, ALB as in bunnies, INA.com. And I have a special treat, a little present just for your listeners.
Okay.
Isn't it exciting? I love
Yes.
treats. So
Me
if you go to
too.
my website, beatrizalbina.com/overthinker, You can download a suite of nervous system orienting exercises, inner child exercises, all sorts of beautiful meditations and guides for free, $0, just to say thank you for listening. While you're there,
Mm,
isn't that fun? I'm
love that.
excited. I hope your people go get those treats. You can go to beatrizalbina.com/book to pre-order the book now. I can't believe
Love
you can
that.
already order it. It just feels so exciting. And my podcast is called Feminist Wellness. It's for humans of all genders, and it's available for free wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow me on the gram. I give good gram at my full name, Beatriz Victoria, Albina NP.
That is awesome. So I can't imagine people aren't going to look you up, get that free resource, order that book, listen to your podcast, all the things. And hopefully they'll look forward to you coming back. And we're going to talk about more good stuff in the future.
Wait, I can't wait.
Thank you again. And I want to thank our listeners for listening as always and wish everyone a great week. And bye for now.